All right, welcome out to this live Echo webinar. My name is Robbie Law. I'm excited to be the host today. We're going to be sharing some amazing discoveries on our own health and what we can do. We've got Karen Thomson here today, and I'm so thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much for being here, Karen. I'm very excited to learn from you. So thank you.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'll talk about my love for Echo a little bit later, but yeah, what a privilege and an honor, and I can't wait for us to get started.
I love your energy. You know, I really wish we would have had a greater opportunity to connect beforehand so I could get to know you a little bit, but I get to know you like live in front of everyone. So I want to let you know, everyone, we are here to answer questions to be able to help you to improve your health, specifically around, our uptake of water, and how we're looking at what it is that we're putting into our bodies. And so today we're going to be talking about sugar, addiction to sugar. We're going to be talking about ways to overcome some of this addiction. I was just telling my wife, like, we were leaving Costco and I had like this bag of like, Costco always gets you with these like some sort of nuts with sugar all over it,
Yes.
And so it's like, hey, it's a nut, but it's like you're literally eating candy. And I'm sitting here eating and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to go on a webinar where I'm going to get shamed for eating all of this sugar. But I'm really excited to learn from you, Karen. I'm so excited to get to know what it is your modality looks like, because I've been kind of doing some research on you, going through your website, which I'd love to share that link here in the chat box so people can get to know you. But you've got a 21-day challenge where you're helping people to go through and, minimize their intake, and for a time, maybe even eliminate their intake of sugar. So let's talk a little bit about that. If we can dive right in, we're going to have about 45 to 60 minutes together. By the end, for anyone who follows along and has ever been to one of these trainings, we hold these pretty much each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard. And we bring an expert like Karen on to share their modality, share what they've learned, share their knowledge and expertise. And every time we always have a great deal on Echo products. So I've got a great deal for you at the end, so stick around for that. But Karen's going to be sharing a little bit about, I would love for you to start with, what it is that you do, and then what got you passionate about it. What was your origin story into where you're at today? I'd love to hear some of that.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Karen Thomson. I'm originally from South Africa. I am the founder of the Sugar-Free Revolution. And I've done many other things, but I think, I love sharing my story, and I love the opportunity that you've given me, Robbie. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the beginning, right? I'm going to start at where it all started, and then just take you on a journey of my own sugar addiction journey and addiction and mental health journey to the place where I am today. The first memory I have of soothing myself with sugar was the age of 4, right? I remember from the age of 4 soothing myself with looking for these external solutions to this internal problem and starting to soothe myself with sugar. And what happened was, at the age of 4, my uncle committed suicide. And this was obviously a huge trauma and a huge tragedy in our lives. And really, my mom and my gran, who were my primary caretakers at that time, kind of withdrew out of my life. They, because of their trauma that they were experiencing, this incredibly difficult time. And I felt that I was left with this void and didn't know how to fill it. And so I started turning to sugar, refined sugar, fruit, anything that I could find the sweetness that I was so desperately looking for within, outside myself, right?
Right.
At the same time, my dad is my primary caregiver. My dad is this very stable, wonderful figure in my life. He goes to work the whole day. I'm at home with the nanny, and he comes home at night with a Coca-Cola and a flake. Now, everyone knows what a Coca-Cola is, but a flake is a South African milk chocolate. It's just like a chocolate. And so, I start associating these sugary foods and drinks with the feeling of safety and stability. So I learned at that age that I can find safety and stability in the form of sugar. It tricks my brain into thinking that I'm safe and secure. I know the story sounds a little bit way out, but I promise you it's going to make sense a little bit later on. So go through this and really, my sugar addiction and the way I ate and consumed sugar was never normal. For me, once I started, I could not stop. And the definition of addiction is the compulsive pursuit of a substance or behavior despite the negative consequences. I would do anything to get sugar. I stopped looking for human interaction to fill this void, to fill my need for comfort, to fill my need for safety, for security. And I started turning to food. I started looking for external solutions to this internal problem that I had. This led me down the path of other addiction, right? And so went through life, and at the age of 14, I got asked to become a model. Now, for a little girl at the age of 14, to be plucked out of a crowd and to be like, do you want to be a model? Like, it was a dream come true. My whole life, all I wanted to do was be seen. And here suddenly I was seen. I also have to state that my grandfather was incredibly famous. I come from a very famous family. His name was Christian Barnard, and he did the world's first heart transplant. My mom was a world champion water skier at the age of 14. So I come from a very high achieving family, always wanting to be the best, but never feeling seen, right? And so I have this need in me to be seen. And so the modeling industry is like this phenomenal thing, because finally I feel I'm going to be seen. However, the only thing I am seen for are the things that I'm lacking. So I'd go from one casting to the next. The one casting, my nose would be too big. The other one, my nose would be too small. The one I'd be too tall. The other one would be too short. And I start waging this war with myself and my body. And I start binging and purging, bulimia and anorexia. So the pathway of addiction now is moving into other behaviors. So I started restricting and controlling my environment by restricting and controlling food, which I had been doing since I was young. At the same time, I started drinking. And from the very first time I took my first drop or drink of alcohol, once I started, I could not stop. I cannot tell you that I've ever just managed to have one drink and start and stop. So it's actually so funny that we're having this webinar, because September 14th, in 2 days, is when I celebrate 19 years of sobriety. So this to me is a very,
that's so awesome.
Very, very special time. Anyway, but Robbie, am I boring you, or can I continue?
No, this is fantastic. No, I appreciate it. Keep taking us through your journey. So one drop of alcohol, and it's something that you immediately want. So you're recognizing additional sugar issue here, a different type of sugar.
Exactly. And so I'm switching sugar for another substance, and essentially, like, sugar and alcohol have the same, they metabolize in a very similar way, right? And so it's very, very similar. Then, because I have this desperate desire to be thinner, and I'm already so thin, I'm now 16, I'm so thin, but all I want to do is be thinner and thinner and thinner, because this is in the 90s, right? This is when, like, Kate Moss and all these, like, waifs and the heroin chic thing was, like, so in fashion. I just want to be thinner. So I start doing cocaine. And I promise you, the first time I did my first line of cocaine, I felt so beautiful. I felt so powerful, and I felt a confidence that I'd been desperately seeking my entire life. And so I used cocaine and other drugs to take away my appetite, but also to change the way that I feel, to give myself this confidence, this feeling of being good enough, this feeling of being beautiful that I'd never experienced in my whole life, right? But this also then took me on this mental health journey of depression and anxiety. And so I started self-medicating with alcohol and drugs and uppers and downers and food. And it just became this vicious cycle. And when I was young, I had these dreams of becoming a neuroscientist. I wanted to work with the brain. I wanted to be a doctor. I come from this phenomenal family, and I had these beautiful dreams. And then they just all fell to the wayside because I became so obsessed with the way that I looked. I became so obsessed in looking for external affirmation. I became so lost and so alone. And it led me down a path where I modeled until I was about 21 years old. And I always had this love-hate relationship with it. And I traveled all over the world, and there were some really beautiful parts to it. You know, I was in Paris and Milan and New York and, London, like everywhere. I went everywhere. It was gorgeous, but there was always this sinking feeling that something is intrinsically wrong with me and who I am is just never enough. And that is very much the core of addiction, is this deep-rooted shame, the shame of who we are and how we show up in the world. And so from the age of 21 until the age of 24, I kind of was like up and down in and out the modeling industry, doing various like styling jobs and other stuff. And I had a huge bender September 12th. Oh my gosh, today, 19 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, I had a massive bender, and I woke up that morning after like a drug-induced sleep, and I remember like stumbling to the bathroom and was drinking water from the tap because I was so dehydrated. And as I looked up in the mirror, I didn't recognize this person staring back at me. I looked into my eyes and all I could see was this incredible emptiness and loneliness and sadness, right? And it was like almost in that moment that my life flashed before my eyes, and I was like, what happened to that little girl with all the dreams? What happened to that little girl who had this life in front of her? What happened to this little person who was so talented and so smart and had the world at her feet? And it was like I was standing in this field of like broken dreams and lost promises and ruined relationships. And really the only people who were still there for me were my parents, because I'd ostracized everybody else in my life. And, and as I stood there looking at myself, I didn't know if I wanted to live or if I wanted to die. And the thought of taking my own life that day, 19 years ago, was so real and it was so intense. But I was petrified of dying. And I knew what my uncle's suicide had done to our family. And so I made the decision that day to choose life. I decided in that moment that I would do whatever it took to live a life of meaning and purpose, not only for myself, but for other people as well. And so 2 days later, my parents booked me into rehab. And I say it with a smile on my face, but it was truly awful. And I was there for 9 months. So I did primary care, secondary care, tertiary care, sober living. I did 9 months. I came in a shell of a person, so lost, no idea who I was. I literally had to start building my reserves and emotional intelligence and everything from scratch. But in that process, I learned so much about myself. And it was in the rehab that I started realizing that my addiction, my mental health issues, everything started with sugar at the age of 4. And this is where the whole trajectory started. And so we look at sugar and sugar addiction as a harmless substance, right? But the fact is that it causes so much dysfunction. You don't have to be an addict like I was for sugar to be detrimental to your health. We have a chronic disease epidemic that's killing this country. And one of the things that we are, that seems so easy to give up, but that would make such a difference is refined sugar, carbs, junk food. But why are we not doing it? Because it is addictive. Anyway, from there, my ex-husband and I opened these addiction treatment centers throughout South Africa. And it was during that time that I noticed that addicts would come in, addicts, alcoholics, heroin addicts would come in, and they would suddenly put on a ton of weight, right? They would put down the one drug and they would switch their addiction to sugar. And I heard a South African professor called Professor Tim Noakes talk about sugar and addiction in the same sentence. And I just realized like this was the missing piece, right? Sugar is addictive. And so I started an inpatient program where we treated sugar and carb addicts. And it was a 21-day inpatient program. We also then started outpatient and online programs. And then I got asked to write a book here. I'm not a shameless self-promoter, but it was just around. And it was awesome. And so this led me to moving to the United States. And from there, I started working for CrossFit because of my work in sugar addiction. And then recently I went off by myself.
Karen, this is such a beautiful story. I appreciate so much what you've shared. Very vulnerable and very, those moments. It's amazing how, those times, those days. My day is January 26th of 2009. I was an opiate addict, and I've been clean now for over 14 years. And it's such an amazing feat. Every time that day comes, I feel a little bit taller. I feel like I've gotten, through that stage of life and can help other people, like you're doing now. So this rings So true for me. And, I'm containing my emotion as good as I can as I'm listening to you, because I know the roller coaster that it becomes. So when it comes to our health, tell me what sugar is doing to me. Tell me what's going on that's making this happen, because I know what addiction feels like. I definitely know that. I feel sugar is, it's so mainstream. It's so in front of my face. My addiction is so available. I've never really looked at my draw to sugar as being an addiction as much as I may do right now. So tell me what's going on with my body as that's happening.
Well, so here's the thing. I just want to make it clear. I don't believe that everyone that eats sugar is a sugar addict, right? And I don't. So I'm not like that. And I don't believe that people can't eat sugar in moderation. But for me, it was very similar to addiction. It was the cravings, the withdrawals, the constantly thinking about it, like going to any ways or means to find and use and get more. But, I think when I found out I was a sugar addict, right, that I had essentially just switched one substance for another, it was this realization. I was sitting in my car at the gas station, and in South Africa, the gas stations have like really cool stores. And I was with my kids. My kids were young. They were like 2 and 4. And I remember going into the store and buying chocolates and not wanting to show it to them. And I put them in the back of the car, and I sat down, silently tried to like unwrap the chocolate bar so I didn't have to share with them.
Right.
Come
on, Mom.
I know, and hiding the wrappers. And so the same behavior that I exhibited when it came to drinking and using, I was exhibiting when it came to sugar. But because sugar is such a legal substance and not frowned upon, no one else in society will speak up against it. So basically the detrimental effects on health. I mean, sugar causes inflammation, right? Inflammation in the body and the brain. And if you are somebody who is prone to mental health issues, then you don't want your brain to be inflamed, right?
Right.
It havoc with the gut microbiome, right? And the gut microbiome is where more serotonin is produced than in the brain. And serotonin is one of the brain chemicals that we need so desperately. And so if that's out of kilter, mental health stuff's going to show up as well. Basic stuff like weight gain, bad skin, there's like feeling super lethargic, your hair thinning, like all these things could be attributed to sugar. And I'm not talking about table sugar. Really here, what I'm talking about is refined sweets, junk food, that combination of sugar, salt, and fat that the food industry chemically engineers this was documented by a guy called Howard Markowitz. They chemically engineer these foods to make us addicted. But what happens is we take a bite and it stimulates our brain in such a way that we don't realize the caloric consumption that we're having. So we just feel this rush of dopamine despite having 1,000 calories. And all we want to do is have more and more and more. So it blunts our natural pathways, right? So it plays into this hedonic pathway where our homeostatic pathway is what regulates our appetite. And so when we're eating like chicken and vegetables and salad, like real food as close to its natural state as possible, how much chicken, Robbie, can you eat before you're like, I can't have any more? Like you're
two chicken breasts. That's it, man. I tried that test yesterday.
Oh my God. Okay,
bodybuilders, and these 2 bodybuilders ordered, and I just go, yeah, I'll just get what they got. And all of a sudden I look at it and they had like extra chicken, and I was like, I'm halfway through what their portion was, and I was like, that's all I could get, But yeah, I can get 2 chicken breasts, but I know what you mean. And then I don't feel, and then my body is saying, we're good. I feel good. I feel like I've gotten enough, but I know that feeling of eating and eating and eating and not knowing or not wanting to stop just because it tastes good. Yeah, it's yummy. It's yummy. It's yummy, And so I know that feeling. I know that I'm skinny, and I try to stay as fit as I can, but sugar is something that has always been on my mind, is something I need to be more aware of. So this could not have come at a better time for me. I'm thinking about my child right now, and maybe each of you that are listening maybe can have a similar experience. But I think about one of my kids, and they'll do that with candy. They'll like hide it, and they'll like not want others to have theirs. And I think of the way that I behaved when I was an opiate addict, and it was, a lot of hiding, a lot of keeping things from other people, a lot of being embarrassed about it, not wanting to talk about it. A lot of the things that, I was taking the feelings that I could have expressed to others, and I was just shoving them down further and further. And, it's very detrimental for a long time in my life. I'm glad I'm through that part. I definitely want to watch for those types of behaviors. So is there some behaviors that we could each be looking for? Additional, you told me some of those behaviors, but what are some of the ways where we can go, I'm looking at myself more as an addict than someone who's having a sugar, grabbing a candy bar occasionally. Like, can you give us a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So I think, the physical signs that we can look for are cravings. Do you have this like strong, uncontrollable urge to eat more sugary foods or drink sugary beverages, especially when you're not hungry? And here's the distinguishing factor, especially when you're not hungry, right? So that's like, to me, is a big one. Energy fluctuations. Are you one of those people that literally like just wants to nap at like 2-3 p.m. every single day, and you need like a pick-me-up or something to like bring that blood sugar back up? Tolerance. Are you needing more and more and more of the sugary substance to feel the same high or the same satisfaction as before? Withdrawals, right? Which is with every addiction. So withdrawals, like if you don't have it, and you have to be very honest with yourself, like, do you experience like headaches or mood swings? But mostly, like, are you irritable? Like, what are you doing? Like, are your moods changing when you don't have access to the sugary foods that you want? Like, do you think about getting in your car at 10 p.m. at night to go to the store to buy ice cream or cake or candy or whatever it is, where you wouldn't do that for like a bottle of detergent, right?
I am officially a sugar addict.
Oh, no, it's okay. Don't worry.
No, I have tools now. I have tools. So tell me what to do. Tell me how to replace it. Tell me things that can help me, because I can definitely see I see some of those behaviors. I love that 10 o'clock craving. It's like, where is the nearest 7-Eleven? That's in the States here. That's the gap.
I'm in the US now. So,
okay.
Well, Robbie, you can drink hydrogen water or just kidding. I think, one of the biggest things with addiction for me, right, is we have to work a program. So I started by being abstinent from sugar and refined carbs and junk food for 30 days so I could allow my body a reset, right? I needed my taste buds to like get used to how food normally tastes without it being like sweetened. I needed to just allow my body to go back to its natural state of functioning, for inflammation to come down, for my mood swings to level out. I really had to allow my body a space to heal. And then, so that is like physically what you can do. And then I really had to do some step work on it. And I don't know if you work the 12-step program, but it doesn't have to be the 12-step program, but you have to try and figure out for yourself why or what you are trying to soothe by the consumption of this external substance, right? Why am I looking for the sweetness I want inside, outside of myself? Like, how do I find that sweetness within? And they're very practical tips. Like, if you are craving sugar, have a teaspoon of coconut oil, or, eat a little bit more protein. And just know that if you have eaten protein and you still are craving sugar, like, you don't need food. Like, your body's going to be totally okay. Drink a ton of water, stay hydrated. I'm not just saying that is actually the truth. And then, remove yourself from people, places, and things that want you to engage in those behaviors, because we all have that friend who loves to eat cake with us or end up at crumble cookie on a Saturday night at like 10 p.m. or whatever the case may be, right? Just for a little bit of time, remove yourself from that space. And it's very interesting what comes up when you take that crutch away and how much healing can happen. That's not just about sugar. It's not just about weight gain. It's not just about your external appearance. It's so much about what lies within.
Gosh, you are amazing. That is such a great way to coin it. I went through my own journey of healing as you were talking about that, because I had to go through and remove a substance no, very similar to sugar. Opiates are very similar to sugar and what they're doing to our body. They're giving us maybe a different feeling, but dopamine and oxytocin, those were things that I was looking to increase. That's why I was taking these drugs. And so, it's no wonder that I had, a period of time where my body physically had to heal from that.
Yeah.
But for you to say, take a break and let your body heal from sugar. And, I think this is the way you said it. And it's, I'm going to get it wrong. You said, let the sweetness come from within. Yeah. Can you say it again so I get the sound bite, because it was so good, but I want a little bit more on that, because one of the initiatives we have here at Echo is we look to help people improve their human health. Like what is the health that my human system has and how can we improve it? This is why we give trainings that aren't about water. We're talking about sugar today, because all of these things relate. You mentioned water and drinking a lot of it. I can show you hydrogen studies that show you that hydrogen helps people with addiction and helps them with those, those things that are going on, because it's working on the gut. It's working on our brain. It's helping the serotonin levels that you're mentioning. So tell me more about this sweetness from within. Say it again, because I feel like you've got the good soundbite on it, so you can fully understand what that means.
Well, I think we live in a world that is so unpredictable, especially the last couple of years. We don't know who to turn to or where to turn to find the right information. We don't know where to go to find comfort. We're all so lost at the moment. I really, really believe that. Like, we're in the society and things just don't make sense. But a lot of my addiction was trying to find my place in the world, right? And I was always externally seeking the sweetness that I was lacking within. And it was only once I started finding the sweetness within myself, like within my soul, within my spirit, that I was able to heal my external search for meaning and purpose.
That is so cool. I love the way you explain that. It's such a great visual, is the seeking that sweetness that you lacked from within you, and finding it. So what does it feel like when you find that sweetness from within?
It's this, that everything in the world is okay. Right now, in this moment, I lack nothing. There's nothing that I need to be whole, to be who I am. And I have everything that I need within myself. And I think that's the biggest thing. I need everything I need to survive, to be a good mom, to be a business partner, everything that I need, that I always think I need to find outside myself, I already possess within. And so when I allow myself to turn inwards, that is when my world becomes stable. That is when my world becomes secure. And that is when I am able to show up as the very best version, not only for other people, but for myself. And to me, that is the greatest accomplishment I can have.
That is so beautiful. I always talk about my mirror moments. I do a lot of trainings and have worked with a lot of people with addiction, and I talk about my mirror moments. And when you're an opiate addict, you make bad choices in your life. And I remember the moments that I was looking in the mirror, consciously aware that I was making bad choices, consciously aware that where I was going and my addiction had just fully engulfed me. And it took years and years after, because I've been clean 14 years, and it took years and years after for me to look in the mirror and feel like, as I was looking, that I could sense and feel the sweetness that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know that others maybe didn't see it in me sooner, but it took me a long time for me to start to recognize that. And so, as you're explaining it, I'm having my own remembrance of that moment where I was able to go, you're good. You're good within. You're the type of person that wants to do well for others. You're the type of father that wants to create good value for your kids. You're the type of husband that your wife can proudly, talk about. And that moment for me happened, I think, partly due to my addiction and driving me to want to become better, because it was not my character to have that type of, challenge, or, to have that type of, I don't know, like need in my life for something, that would help me. So, or that wasn't helping me, but I felt like it would. So, really, really powerful stuff. I appreciate you sharing, and also letting me share. Obviously, I love to share my story.
Oh my God, I love it.
Because I wasn't expecting this. I didn't know. I did not know that what your background was until today, and so I apologize for that. I should have done more research. But that was, it was so important for me to know that that's what we're going to discuss today. So I want to talk about how we can impact our body. Okay. So we've talked about gut health. The sugar is challenging our gut health the moment it enters our system. The moment it's into our salivary glands, it's challenging our system because it's immediately reacting. It's happening. And so we've talked a little bit about inflammation. So why does sugar create inflammation? Do you feel confident answering that?
I mean, my thing's definitely more like the emotional, mental component of it, but sugar definitely, it spikes our blood sugar, so it wreaks havoc with our hormones. Insulin is spiked, and so we're constantly, and this is like overwhelms the adrenal glands and everything. So sugar really, sugar is pretty much, and a lot of refined carbs and carbohydrate is the only macronutrient that we do not need to survive. Right? We need protein and we need fat, but we don't need sugar or refined carbs, or carbs for that matter. But basically, and I'm not saying don't eat carb. I'm really, really not saying that. I'm just saying that there is really no need for us to have sugar because of the way that it affects not only our gut microbiome, our brain, our dopamine system, everything. It basically just throws everything out of kilter. And I think for me, the biggest thing was the hormonal thing as well. Being a female, already being hormonally all over the show, and then throwing sugar into the mix, it literally just pushed me over the edge. But I'm definitely not the best person to ask about the biological mechanisms, although I do have an understanding of it.
Here's what I would say. Every Tuesday we do these webinars, and I kind of look at it almost like a podcast / QVC, because we always have something to offer. I would love for you to go ahead and acquire some Echo products. I'm going to have a great deal for you. I'll put it into the chat box and all that. But as I do it, we interview people, and Dr. Paul Baratero was on maybe a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed inflammation, and we discussed what's happening. And so the reason I asked you specifically about inflammation is because when you said you take 30 days off to let your body heal, I went to, well, inflammation is my body's reaction. It's a natural reaction to healing itself. It's like, I know this because I tore my knee, and your knee swells up. So I'm always talking inflammation. I think of my knees being swelling and wanting to keep that swelling down and all that. And so when sugar is doing that, it's literally damaging our body. And the way you just put it, I feel like it's damaging my adrenal system. It's damaging my, any of the systems that's causing me to have to digest it, so anything, my liver, my pancreas, all these other areas. So I know there's damage in all these areas. What have been some of the results that you've seen from people that go from, I had sugar, to I joined your 21-day challenge and I cut it out of my life for 21 days or whatever? I don't know what your challenge is, but tell me what some of the results we can expect if we were to say, you know what, I want to go less sugar, I want to cut it out. Tell me what I would feel. Obviously the inverse of the problems, but give me some success stories of what's happened for some of you.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that happens pretty much immediately is weight loss, especially if somebody's been on a high sugar, high refined carb diet, right? They immediately, or high junk food, I shouldn't just say high refined carbs, but they lose up to between 5 and 10 pounds generally on the 21-day sugar-free challenge, depending on how much weight they have to lose. Okay. So if you're 150 pounds and you're 5'11", don't expect those same results, right? Because it's not appropriate. But it depends on how much they have to lose. So they immediately lose a lot of weight. The first 3 to 5 days can be quite challenging because of the sugar cravings, right? And sugar's leaving your system, and your your gut is like desperately craving it, and you want it, and you are like a little bit of a sugar monster. But
Okay.
once that kind of evens out, I think the stabilization of moods, and this is something we saw in the rehab, because we put all our clients on a sugar-free diet. Everyone was on a low-carb, high-fat diet. And so the psychiatrists and the doctors were actually like, this is crazy. We are taking people off prescription medication because they're not exhibiting these huge mood swings that they were before. Which was, and this is anecdotal, it was not published in a research paper. I'm just telling you what we saw in the clinic, right? So stabilization of moods. And then the physical stuff. So better skin, better hair, a lot more energy, like this energy to go out and do stuff, and wanting to exercise and wanting to engage in other healthy behaviors. And then a level of confidence, once you lose that weight, once you feel that you can achieve something, that you're not like secretly eating stuff, that you're not like looking for this external substance to soothe yourself, like you gain this confidence in yourself, that you are able to look after yourself, that you are able to hold yourself and your health in the highest regard. And what is better than that? That is a beautiful feeling. So, just better sleep as well. People sleep a ton better dental health. I could go on and on and on, but really there is no downside to quitting sugar and refined junk. If you're type 1 or type 2 diabetic, you obviously have to check with your healthcare professional before you do it, right? But I didn't write this program alone. I worked with doctors and psychiatrists and nurses and dietitians. A neuroscientist wrote the addiction chapter. A dietitian did all the biological stuff and the food stuff. So I'm very good at bringing experts together to create programs, and I bring the very best people in the field together to put together this program. So it's not just me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. In fact, would you mind? I've got a link, and if I can, I'm just going to drop it into the chat box. This is the link for your not for your book. Sorry, I've got
sugar-free program.
I'm trying to. It's the sugarfreerevolution.com. Is that right?
That's correct.
I'm going to drop that into the chat box. Of course, I didn't type it right.
Oh, don't even worry. Oh, and you know what? I don't know if you're going to get there, but Dr. Paul is actually a speaker at an event I'm organizing in October.
And that's I want to go. So I need the information.
Online though.
There. It's online, even better. I mean, that's easier for me to come. I would love to come to that. Now I'm obsessed with this. I'm an event guy. I don't know you don't know my background, but events.
Tell me.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do it on the call. I want to make everybody else can learn about me later. We're here to learn about you and your sugar. And I want to show some studies, because we as we're talking about this, I'm going, diabetes. This is a sugar related illness. This is something that's an epidemic. It's a big, big thing. But there are studies showing how hydrogen impacts that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about hydrogen now, because hydrogen is something, and I don't know how versed you are. I'm new as of 6 or 8 months ago in learning about hydrogen. I like to facilitate the expertise, much like you're talking about. You got a dietitian to do that part. You got a neuroscientist to do that part. I'm the same way. I brought the sugar expert here to talk about sugar. When hydrogen is time for hydrogen, I bring in Dr. Paul. He's got the understanding, the knowledge, just knows so much about that. What I do know about hydrogen is this. Hydrogen is a selective, eliminates free radicals selectively. And so what that means is it's actively seeking out the things within our body that should not be there, including sugar. When we look at sugar being a damaging thing to our body, hydrogen comes in and tries to make up for that. So when we remove sugar, we're automatically going to open up free hydrogen to go impact other areas in our body, because our body is a natural resource for hydrogen. Dr. Paul talks about it being this hydrogen generator, where when we're digesting food, it's taking the water inside the food and breaking down the oxygen and the hydrogen. And we're using that hydrogen to help create better gut biome, to help stimulate, our neuroscience, all the things that we've got going on. So hydrogen becomes a very, very, look at her drinking her Echo right now, a very, very important tool. So by cutting sugar out, we're increasing our ability to use oxygen. But there's actually studies showing that hydrogen impacts our own mental health. In fact, I'm going to drop a couple of the studies in. So if anyone wants to go to these studies, you can check this out. But I've got a study here. This is for mental disorders on methamphetamines. That one's right there in the chat box right there, along with mood and anxiety disorders. And if you go to hydrogenstudies.com, you can actually see some of these studies. So not maybe fully knowing what hydrogen does, why do you think using hydrogen would actually help someone that has some sort of mental anxiety or any type of disorders? Why do you think in those studies we're seeing positive benefits from that?
For me, I think I have to tell you, I was really skeptical when I first heard about this hydrogen water. I was like, oh, another like product that somebody's trying to sell me on and whatever. And then I got on a call with Dr. Paul and he started putting out the research, and I'm a big one for research. And then when I looked at it, I was like, shit, like this stuff's legit. And then he was, but because I worked in the field of scientific misconduct and the problems with research studies and, how so many studies are funded by big industry to show us what they want us to see. I was like, I have to try this for myself. And so I got sent an echo maybe 2 weeks ago. Robbie, I am in love. Okay, here's the deal. This stuff is phenomenal. My kids who are teenagers now, they are the most difficult people to please, right? So I was like, oh, Luke, my son who plays football, obsessed. I was like, Luke, just try some hydrogen water. He starts coming back and he's like, Mom, I'm not tired anymore sorry, I'm going off tangent a little bit. Mom, I'm not tired anymore after when I'm playing football. Like I'm able to just keep going. I think it's this water. Anyway, but apart from that, I think the biggest reason why this hydrogen water really works is, for me, in my opinion, because of the anti-inflammatory properties, right? I've looked at some of the research, and the hydrogen water has been shown in some of the studies that it has anti-inflammatory effects, which helps maintain a healthy gut. And for me, mental health starts in the gut, right? So if there's anything that we can do to heal our gut, it's going to improve every single process in our body. Like, so not only that, but there's also the research that says it balances the gut flora. So it's a very delicate ecosystem in there, and hydrogen water is believed, and because I'm not that clued up on the research, but I did look into this, to encourage the growth of the beneficial bacteria that inhibits harmful bacteria and leads to so many autoimmune diseases, which once again will affect our mental health. And then I think one of the biggest thing is, and this is a huge thing in our society, is that we're not absorbing nutrients properly because our gut is so compromised. And once again, like with hydrogen water and the effects that it has on the gut, it's just helping with every single function. And I can see it in my own life by reduced sugar cravings, better sleep, my skin looks better. I just worked out, so I look like a little bit of a disaster, but but you know what I mean? Just way less sugar cravings. I can promise you, since I started drinking this water, I have had way less sugar cravings. And while I'm a huge fan of research, to me, the N of 1 experiment, my own personal experience, is what I'm going to base something on.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to actually give everyone a great deal on the Echo Go Plus right now. I'm starting the offer. It's a buy one, get one 50% off. Those are cool little machines. So in fact, let me just tell you a little bit about this thing right here. So the Echo Go Plus, if you can see it going right there, you hit that button one time, it starts a 5-minute cycle. And at the end of that cycle, it's taking this electrolysis process. It's taking the hydrogen and oxygen of the water and separating them and releasing it back into the water. And so we're actually loading through a membrane H2 into the water. And as that happens, we're putting about 2.3 parts per million of hydrogen into that Echo Go Plus. That's when you press the button once. Now, because it's concentrated, meaning when you put the lid on, in fact, when you take the lid off, you can actually hear the air come out. That's the air. And so when that happens, that pressurized allows us to get it up to 2.3 parts per million in 5 minutes. And then if you run the cycle twice, it's measured at 4.5 parts per million. Now, the therapeutic dose is 0.5 parts per million. So we're like way above that on the Go Plus. So you're getting such a great, large amount of H2 into your system at that time. That BOGO is going to go through the end of our call here today. Jump on and grab that. When we're drinking water, we have a 2-step system here at Echo. We're enhancing it with hydrogen. That's step one. We're always wanting to, when we can, use filtered or some sort of purified water when we use the Go Plus. We also have our systems that clear out a lot of the the chemicals and the things that are now into our drinking water. Even here in the U.S., where we have a lot of pride in the drinking water that we have and what we've done, there are studies proving how we're getting pharmaceuticals into our water. We're getting, blood pressure medication. We're getting heavy metals from the pipes. We're getting forever chemicals from all of the pesticides and manufacturing the chemicals and all of that. That's there. So I've got a second offer that I'm going to throw up as well. And this offer is actually for, what is it for? The Echo Ultimate, which is our best machine, the Echo Ultimate. I don't know if you know about this one. There's 4 different types of water. It's got filtered water, hydrogen water, alkaline water for our plants, and then acid water, which is great for cleaning and disinfecting and, replacing bleach inside your home in the areas that it can. The Echo Ultimate, where you buy an Echo Ultimate, you get 2 Echo Go Pluses for free. So I'm going to throw that offer up there as well. And so you'll be able to, take advantage of either of those. And as we're kind of ending here, I want to give you a little bit more time to talk about this RevitaFest that you've got coming. This RevitaFest. So I want to hear about it. So tell us all about it and tell us how we can get started.
Yeah, where's the link for your for the offers?
I already put
in the offers.
Yeah, so the offers are up, but I'm going to pull the links out and so that you'll have the links as well.
I want them. Okay, Robbie, here's the deal. Okay, this year I went to Coachella and it was so much fun. Okay, I mean, being in recovery, I don't really go out that much, but I love to dance. So this year I went to Coachella and I had the time of my life. I was outside, I was dancing, I felt so free. I felt so connected to community, and it was just the most phenomenal time. So I love dancing and I love music. And then I love education and I love medical education and health and lifestyle stuff. And so I decided I was going to create an event that brings like everything that I love together. And that's how RevitaFest was born. So it stands for Revitalize Health Festival. So I'm bringing together, this year it's a virtual event. And next year it's going to be an in-person event. So what we're doing is I'm bringing together the world's experts in various topics related to exercise, nutrition, lifestyle, hydrogen, water. Dr. Paul's the speaker, relationships, like sex, orgasms, all this fun stuff, addiction, like everything for 5 days. And so we have people like Gabrielle Lyon, Jason Fung talking about fasting. We have Gary Taubes, Nina Teicholz, a lot of the keto, low carb people. Then we have people in the sport industry like Don Saladino, Kenny Santucci, Prof. Tim Noakes. I don't know if you know any of these speakers. They're more like low carb exercise performance people. The guys that started CrossFit, his name's Greg Glassman. We have a ton of phenomenal speakers. We have over 35 speakers over 5 days. And so you can go to revitafest.com to buy the tickets. And really my motivation for starting this event is my mom suffers from Parkinson's really badly. And I actually just got an Echo 2 sent to her because the research that supports how it helps Parkinson's is quite profound. But I started this festival because my mom used to talk about moments of magic, creating moments of magic. And she's no longer able to create moments of magic because of her dementia and her Parkinson's. But I want to honor her and the profound impact that she had on my life by creating something that allows us to create moments of magic. So that's RevitaFest.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. And I love that there's an additional connection with your mom and what she's going through. And, you're some of the experts I did know. I definitely know Glassman. I'm a CrossFitter. I have been a CrossFitter.
Oh, you are?
Definitely. So some of the names you mentioned, I was like, oh, that's cool. So I'm excited. The link that I put looks like it might not have come through very well in the chat box. Let me see if it actually works when you click it. No, it still works. I just have, it was just too long of a link. But the link for her RevitaFest is right there in the chat box. There's a couple of other links in there, and I'm going to make sure that I have one more. I only can have one offer going at a time, but I want to make sure I get all the links out to you. So I've got the Echo Go, the Go Plus, buy one, get one 50% off. And that link I've put in the chat box as well, along with, let me just put it in. The Echo Ultimate, and then the RevitaFest. So make sure you check out those links. Make sure you check out the products. Really, really good offers. You heard it here. These are products that really work, and they're things that can impact our life. That's a great opportunity to get two of those Go Pluses into your home. So I'm going to give you some last words. Give us some thoughts, some ideas. What can we do? Motivate us to be better. If I tell you, oh, sugar's my favorite, though, I want it so bad and I need it every day. Can you help me feel, like some excitement to decide that I want to, like take a dive into 21-day challenges or something? Give me some motivation on getting.
Sure. I'm not going to give you a sales pitch at all because I suck at that. But what I am going to tell you, right, is that so many of these behaviors that we land up in is because we don't feel we are worthy, and we don't feel we are good enough, and we don't feel it's way easier to be a fuck up. Excuse my language. It's way easier to be, to play small. It's way easier for us to stay in bad relationships or to stay in these uncomfortable situations like being an addict or being a sugar addict than make the change, because making a change is hard, right? So I want to leave you with a poem by Marianne Williamson. I'm not religious, so don't take any reference to God as being religious, but rather spiritual or whatever you believe God to be, or just a universal force. So Marianne Williamson wrote this poem, and it's called Our Deepest Fear. And this was given to me by my counselor in rehab. And it says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And I think that's the message, right? Stop playing small, step into your light, shine it everywhere, and just be the very best version of yourself.
You are too awesome, Karen Thomson. What amazing words. A great ending to this. And I know that personally I had my own experience here, because as an opiate addict coming into an addiction, a setting, and having this opportunity to hear from someone who makes such an impact with people just like me, who at one point I felt completely hopeless. I was on a path of that would have led me not to be, not to live a long life. And I got off that path because of people like you that helped me to recognize what, the detrimental, spot that I'd put myself in. So not the same as sugar addiction, but still the same in the pain and the process that we go through ourselves. So for any of you listening in and wanting to make those changes, I encourage you to reach out to Karen, get on her website, go through her 21-day program, find a place for you to feel confident in moving forward through the pain that you might be going through right now, because I can tell you the other side of addiction is a beautiful place, because I look at the gift that I have of contrast, of just such a physical and mental and emotional desire for a substance, and being able to channel that energy into the passions that I have in my life. It's been incredible to be able to grow through. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for what you do. You are just such a special person. I'm so glad I got to know you.
I feel the same about you, Robbie. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being on the same journey with me. It honestly just means the world.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to be at this next event, and I can't wait for your live event. And you better bring me in as a speaker too, because I'm a speaker and I'll speak there. So I'm in, and I got tons of speakers that will help you. So I will definitely, I will definitely be reaching out. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. I think next week I believe we're talking about active lifestyle next week. So come on back Tuesday, 6 p.m. We'll have another great expert. We'll share some great details. So thank you again, Karen. We'll see everybody next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Bye.